Okay.
So I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and she was pretty excited because she was in 5D. And she started noticing that she was starting to feel really positive about life and actually had a really good attitude. And so she wanted to update her Facebook status to be able to say, I'm on the new earth. It's amazing. Can't wait for everyone else to slowly arrive, but I'm here now. And, I'm pretty proud of myself. And um, I just thought, well, if it gives you joy.
Well, yeah. What do you need to stay happy, I guess?
Yeah, if you want to feel that you're ahead of the team, and if you are already on the new earth in a fifth dimensional mindset, and you have to share that with your Facebook family and friends to be able to promote how advanced you are spirituality. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it a lot. I see it a lot. I know someone who is very into their relationship with the Arcturians, and but the information that kind of comes from that is very much, I'm an enlightened being and I have had lots of ET experiences, and I know that you're all doomed because you're not subscribing to the same belief system that I am. So I'll see you on the flip side kind of attitude. And I don't know if that really speaks to the unity consciousness that's supposed to come from 5D anyway. But again, everyone's got their own. It's all reflection. It's all an opportunity for us to look and observe and learn about ourselves, I guess. So
Yeah, it is just really interesting. And, you can't actually have proper conversations with them because, I want to ask them about, well, talk to me about your crystalline body then if you're here. And, where are you and how did you get to New Earth? It was just, and they are so proud of their adventures because literally, David, just one moment, they were sitting in the comfort of their own home, and then a thought popped into their heads that they were in the fifth dimension on New Earth, and they just decided, yeah, I'm going to be here now. And so they, had to go and rush to social media to proclaim their achievement, which is very cute, very, very noble of them to be so humble with their with their journey.
that's the key word, isn't it? Humble. And I think the humility of it. I mean, if you were there, would you need to post it on social media?
Mm.
Uh, or would you just be there? I don't know, but like it's a very fine line because in one breath I talk about these kind of people as though they are the judgmental ones, but then I say it from a judgmental perspective too. So it's always a good opportunity to look at where I'm at too. I mean, it's all we're all doing it our own way, and I appreciate everyone's individual experience. But I've shared with you before. I look at how a potential movement into 5D, and I think all the language that's directed towards this from a lot of people is very much egotistical, and that the ego is the part of you that sees you as separate to everything. So how can that be the way through to 5D? And is it really, are we really experiencing that movement towards 5D when it seems that more and more of the language that's coming is about them versus us, which is totally the opposite to the unity consciousness. So it's interesting, but it also, it's like, there's no one that's really immune from having a moment of separatism or feeling that they've got to be better than or prove themselves to whatever, because especially people in the spiritual community sometimes, because I think it's almost like I get charmed by this group who seem to be all enlightened and in love and gush 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 gush, and that seems very charming to me, and so I get involved in that, and then that's just it. I've done everything I need to do because I'm in this group of people now that all love each other, but it kind of seems to me that that's only half the story. I do see, and I've spent time in groups, group situations, and a lot of people they love going there to get told how amazing they are and how much they all love each other. But the minute that they're on their own, that's gone again. And so it's like, are you involved in this group because you are genuinely trying to give and be of service, or are you doing it because you're trying to receive? And I think that that is something that some people perhaps might want to reflect on, because if you hold a prayer circle for Gaia, but you're doing it without any self-esteem, are you sucking the energy into your own body, or are you actually giving, what's the intention behind it?
So true. So it did give me joy to hear that they were, seeing things from a bigger perspective in terms of not buying into any worries anymore. So, they actually felt really happy and positive because, they had decided they were going to be in a better new world. And so, I sort of asked, well, what is different in this new earth? Tell me, I'd love to hear more. And they said nothing is different, but they just feel really happy and they feel like they are able to not sweat the small stuff. So, they were just telling me it's just a mindset. The shift is just a mindset, and it was just them sitting there. And one moment they just decided, I'm going to just, be grateful that I'm in this new place and I can start my new thought process. So, who am I to say, nah, you're still here on old earth? I'm not going to destroy anyone's hopes and dreams. I mean, she seemed quite positive, and if she does realize one day that it's not, then that's one day that she can focus on it. But if she keeps telling herself that she's in a new earth, a new world, this is special, she's advanced, she's everything that she has always wanted, obviously, because she's posting it publicly, then I hope she gets all the support she wants.
Yeah, and again, like you said, who are we to say that what she's doing is right or wrong? I mean, every soul's on its journey, and like we're being given so many opportunities here to reflect on our ideas of special or better than, or needing to be adored, or fear of missing out, and it happens in every I don't want to say the word level, but any kind of person who thinks they're on some kind of path. I mean, they're always going to come up against an opportunity to learn more about themselves, and no one's immune from that. And like, I think humility really, it's an ocean that just keeps getting deeper, and there's always more to humility. I mean, I suppose in like a Buddhist philosophy would say that the wise man doesn't speak, just observes and participates in other ways, but like, everyone's got to do it their own way. Everyone's got to experience what they need to experience. And so, like I've shared with you before, we were just speaking, I look at some of the teachers that have come along over the years, over the past couple of millennia, let's say. There's been heaps of teachers who've been coming and saying, look, stop attaching to stuff, and release yourself from any narrative that tells you things should be a certain way or shouldn't be a certain way, or that you have to prove yourself or whatever. Like, you can hear these common threads that have been around since the time of Jesus, and then here we are. We still seem to, a lot of us are really not embodying that truth, and that's what we were talking about before. I think a lot of this stuff makes logical sense. Okay, I need to work with my emotions. I need to recognize that we're all one. But the minute I'm triggered, I won't do that anymore. I'll be like, it's them and it's me, and they're the bad ones, and they're the ones that are creating all the issues on the planet right now. And I think that is such a, it's like, if we can't see that what's going on in the world is a result of the energy that everyone contributes, then how can we expect to just flip a switch and become 5D? I almost said 5G then. How can we just turn to 5D when all the people that are sprouting it are also saying how it should be this way, it should be that way? It's the opposite narrative to what a unity consciousness really is, as far as I'm concerned.
It's definitely being watered down. It has been an overused label and terminology, and now people, it's so commonly misused that people just, literally expect that, it's just a choice of when they want to believe that they're on a new planet or a new earth, and that there is a whole new way of life because of their approach to things. So If that's all that they can process and if that's all they can hear, then we know that effectively with that behavior, they will raise their vibrations, and that's what we want for everyone. So, ultimately we're celebrating her, but the old Joe not so long ago would have been like, oh, sweetheart, sit down. I've got to tell you a story. Because, it's topical for me, and I guess I wanted to tell people, if you're going to use the name New Earth, let's get your facts straight. Let's explore what the definition of shifting to New Earth looks like. Because I've got a few examples I would like you to listen to, and that's all fine. So I wanted to also say, as I don't know why, and this is, so I'm just going to jump back into 3D just to be a dork. But I remember quite a few clients last year being obsessed and besotted by this man who's a popular YouTuber, and I think he does other stuff as well. Anyway, he would always talk about the 144,000, the volunteers, the heroes, he's the leader of them or something. And he'd always talk about twin flames. And so many of my clients, when they started discovering him, wanted to know sessions to find out, is he my twin flame? Are we the chosen ones? And it's like, I have no idea. Let's ask your subconscious. And it was just sad to see them kind of have their hopes and dreams and future children destroyed. Like they had planned everything because they were so convinced by his connection and his sales pitches in spirituality form, that they wanted to just roll over and get married and have many children with him. And it was the first few, I was like, another one, okay, and they would explore it, but there was quite a few that were just smitten.
Indeed, and I see so many times. It seems to me that a lot of people just want to hand over the responsibility of doing any work to someone else. If someone else can come in and say, "Don't worry, I've figured it all out. The evil ones have been defeated. We're all free. Oh, that's great. I can just carry on with my life." And unfortunately, I think that if we were to look honestly at the way the world has been panning out, that's the reason that that's happened, because we've handed ourselves over to influence constantly, and we're living in this. It's like the old Prometheus myth of the Greek mythology about the fire being given to the human beings, and how we now we're living this mentality of who's holding the fire, who's got the power. And it just creates this competition, this relationship of competition between human beings, where the vibration is always, how can I be better than? How can I do better than? How can I be special? How can I be seen? How can I not miss out on anything? And it really takes us further and further away from humility, which really the ultimate lesson of humility is, I'm nothing, therefore I am everything. But at the same time, just absorb yourself into it all. But this energy of resignation, I want to just leave and let the planet and it all sort itself out, and I'm going to be an enlightened being because I know what's coming. And it doesn't get you out of the things that you need to do to learn about yourself. And if it did, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now.
Totally.
Everything is as it's supposed to be. Everything has a place, and everything's in its place. But it just doesn't, we as human beings, I think we need to come down to size and realize that it's not all about us. Like our behaviors and our attitudes and beliefs are a result of the cosmological shifts taking place around us. It's not the other way around. We don't affect the cosmos affects us. Because we're part of it, and so we can all get on our soapboxes about climate change and all this stuff and judge each other about the climate, but it's like, we can't stop the climate of the cosmos doing what it needs to do. Our behavior is a result of that.
Do you think all the people that used to protest about single serving straws, how do you think they feel now about the mask situation?
I thought that a while back too. It's like all that narrative just went away, didn't it? And now we've got animals and all sorts of stuff getting tangled up in masks and all that. And it's like, oh well, it doesn't matter as long as the amoebas are kept away. You know, and it just kind of shows how we'll jump from one narrative to another without really thinking about it. You know, whatever takes our fancy in the moment. You know, and
New
like
sparkly shiny thing.
yeah, and climate, you know, it's very easy to have a, because I think I think when it comes down to people and their self-esteem, if a person isn't feeling very esteemed in themselves, one of the things that I recognize is that it will be very easy for them to latch on to an ideology or a label to help them feel like they fit into something, you know. And so when it comes to like liberation movements or like climate change, it's very easy to look, or even the spiritual movement, or even the gay thing, you know, like, oh, there's all these people over there doing something that they're liberating themselves, and they feel like they're shaking off the shackles of oppression, and they're in their little, you know, and it seems attractive, and you can want to get involved in that because it's like, oh, I'm part of something, you know. But what we don't see is that you know, if you're involved in screaming at everybody else, you're actually just putting a lot of energy and judgment into the atmosphere, which creates more climatic issues. You know, so you're trying to fix the climate by screaming at all the people that use plastic straws, but your judgment is damn sure making more impact on the climate than those plastic straws are. Have no mistake about that. You know, we never think about that.
What about the peer pressure of the plastic straw agenda? Do you think that was a pre-COVID ploy? Are they ready for the next one? They are asking themselves as we are ditching all our single serving bags and straws.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, look at, like, you know, even the vegan thing. I mean, everyone's like, oh my God, you shouldn't be eating animals. It's so evil. And then there's all this guilt tripping and shaming of people who eat animals. And it's like, if you really want to help a person change the way they feel about, if you want people to be more compassionate to animals, shouldn't you show them compassion first, so that they understand how that works? I mean, how can you encourage someone to be compassionate for an animal if you can't be compassionate to them?
David, now you're starting to breach a special line where you're starting to try and common sense on people. Well, I was really surprised when we did a session where our collective said, do you not think we know your routines and habits? And if you can't, you know, humanity is so trained with its consumption of meat, we couldn't stop that even if we tried. I mean, you'd have to remove all of the animals off the planet for that to occur. And so instead of trying to punish us and make us change our ways, because they very firmly can see we are not easily changeable, they decided that they would have bigger, higher vibrational beings come in and live those animal lifetimes, knowing how brutal their lives could potentially be, and that their memory of their energy would still maintain in their meat products, which is then helping raise humanity. You're welcome, says the collectives who are of service, to help us get out of our own little way.
I think we, you know, if we are to kind of really, to me, a lot of it's very logical, but, you know, I say that as though I think I know better than everyone, and I don't. But like, there are certain things if we look at the energetics of our life, if you want to experience love, how can you do that by screaming or judging what's in front of you? Because you have to create what you want to receive back. I mean, this is just the law, one of the laws of the universe. It's, you know, it's cause and effect correspondence. I mean, if I want the world to be more loving, shouldn't I cultivate that as well? And how do you balance hate? Will you love? I mean, you can't just give more hate, because that just creates more hate. I mean, that's just maths. If you want to put it that way.
But when people were indoctrinated into spirituality, they were all taught you're special unicorns of magic and you know everything better than the stupid people that are asleep. And so that kind of was a big push in the original sort of disconnect. They realized that people were walking away from religion for various reasons. And so how do you control and manipulate them and separate them even more? Just the same, a lot of, we know every industry has unprofessional approaches to helping humanity. And we know that the spiritual world and the spiritual indoctrinations are not exempt from this. This is why we are still here, and this is why humanity is still struggling, and this is why we've got so much more support now than ever before, because so many people were introduced to spirituality with this notion that they were exempt from so many things. And of course, our egos want to jump in and kind of, fight for the cause of, being truthers or whatever it is. But we are almost oblivious to our own behavior and actions. I mean, I've certainly been guilty of it. I've definitely judged a few people in my past, and it's really out of frustration. I didn't know how to be a better person, and so I expected others to be, because I kind of had already given up on being better myself. So I was like, can't other people do it? Because I've failed. I'm crap at this. And I just assumed that someone else would take on that role. And, I'm sure lots of people have. And I'm looking forward to, everyone being able to empower themselves. What I have just recently discovered, which, drops my heart and makes me feel so sad, is that while everyone's learning the phrases of everything's got a purpose and a lesson, and it's life contracts, and, accept the things that have happened in your past, because, you're so guided by your teams that you are protected from anything that doesn't serve you. And, what I'm discovering, or shall I say, what I'm being reminded of, is those people with small broken egos that feel like they're worthless. They have jumped to assumptions that being treated like crap by people in their family is because probably they've done something wrong in another lifetime. And so this is their karma, this is their lessons, and it's a purpose. And they've kind of justified being, really abused, and thinking, well, so I always knew I probably deserved it, but, and so it just kind of disempowers them even more when they jump to the conclusion that, if they've been in an abusive situation, chances are, obviously their teams would have protected them, right, if this was not of purpose or had significance or importance or lessons. And, when we ask the subconscious just to confirm, is this abusive relationship part of their life contract? And the subconscious says, no, not at all. And it baffles me, because I want to sort of then judge and yell at the subconscious and say, why the hell have you not protected her or him? Like, what the son of a blah, blah, and it's really hard not to react to that, realizing that someone's gone through a big period of their lives, having really, really, really challenging experiences that aren't even part of their life contract. And, this is the trouble that they are seeing, is everyone still has their free will. And so if you've got bad behavior, or even interesting behavior that repeats in generations. So I remember recently hearing about this, someone cutting the end of a roast. Every time they had like a roast, they would cut the end off and have 2 pieces of the roast in the oven. And they were trying to understand tell me a recipe, and what's the significance of cutting off the end of the meat? And they're like, oh, I don't know, my mum did it, so I do it. And then they ask their mother, why did you do it? And so then, they like, oh, well, I don't know why I did that routine and that practice of that cooking for that special, family traditional meal. I will ask my own mother. And then, they can't even remember why. And it turns out because their oven was small. And so the standard size of the roast, you had to cut the meat to be able to cook it and fit it into these smaller ovens. And so what we perceive as family tradition is just actually has no purpose, doesn't serve anything. The ovens now are gigantic, and yet we still repeat the patterns that we think is part of the tradition. And there is agreed upon abusive relationships for lessons and purposes of either tolerance or to empower oneself, or there's some really valid reasons why there is abusive relationships, and then there is some that aren't, and that it is just a really sad situation and just the state of the decline of moral compasses in humanity. So please, if you are listening to this and you are part of a situation where you tolerate abuse because you think you probably deserve it, because you think that this is probably part of your contract, because you believe you would have been protected by now if this wasn't, first of all, I send you my love, profound love. Second of all, we all know that no one deserves this. And every time, even for those who have had abusive contracts in their lives, abuse in their life because of their life contracts, the subconscious has always said something along the lines of to empower themselves out of that situation. And, I haven't met a client that was bad and that they had this karma of abuse because it was a payback of contract. It's never to just be in a worst case scenario. It's always to heal from past lifetime stuff and to be able to overcome it in this lifetime, not just allow it and settle it and let it repeat forever. We are changers. We are cycle breakers. We know morally what is right and wrong. If we love ourselves enough, we will know when we are being abused, and when we know this is a chance for us to stand up and have boundaries with love and do some really challenging things, which is holding people accountable for bad behavior. And it is hard. We don't want to trigger. We would prefer to be abused than to stand up to someone and trigger them into looking at their behavior and being responsible for their behavior.
Yeah, it's that word deserve is such a potent word in that situation, because the truth is we don't deserve anything, and whether good or bad, we think we can use that word because we think we're entitled. Oh, I've had a bad day, so I'm going to have a piece of cake. I deserve it. No. But if that makes you feel okay, fine, whatever. But the word deserve, it can create so much attachment to an outcome. Like you said, it's like, oh, something bad, I must be paying off karma or whatever. And sometimes it's just an opportunity for you to learn how to transcend a pattern that you've been fated into every lifetime that you just aren't working on. And I think I was saying to you before, like one thing that's really difficult for a lot of people is to find the grace in suffering, because it's painful. It's like, how can I look at suffering and say, oh, it's all perfect? And that's a tough one. And I can't do that all the time. We're living in this polarity of knowing we're eternal, infinite beings, but also having to live a human experience. And as a human being, I want to try and alleviate any suffering I come across, but there's also a part of me at the same time that knows that everything that I'm experiencing is exactly as it's supposed to be. And I don't always need to know why something is happening, but I can certainly play a role in doing something with it. I can either learn about myself or I can learn about the way the world works, but I don't have to attach any kind of narrative of deserve or entitlement or whatever it is that goes along with that at the same time. And I think that's where we can get lost a lot sometimes, because there isn't anything happening other than this moment. And so whenever we're financing yesterday with our energy and trying to figure out why, we are just taking our life force out of this moment, and we aren't financing our creativity in the now. And so like everything that you're looking at is history. Everything that you're thinking about is history. So if anybody listening to this, because it's one thing that I really try and help my clients understand, is that any resentments or judgments you've got about yesterday, you think about it from the perspective of your energy body, your energetic anatomy. You are sending parts of yourself back there to something that no longer exists, and so your life force is being depleted from this moment to look at something that that is just an illusion now. It's not even true anymore, you know. And that takes you away from this moment where you could cultivate so much creativity about where you want to go, or what you can do in this moment, you know. I mean, an event that happened yesterday, you can tell me a story about something, and you can live it like it's your truth. And whilst it's true that that thing happened, the truth is it's not happening anymore. And the eternal truth is the only thing that exists is now. And so what do you want to do now? And the more you finance yesterday, the less of you is here, which means that you're more open to losing balance, whether that's energetically or physically. You might start to experience health issues. The more you finance yesterday, the less of you is now. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I hope that makes sense.
Sure. I'm just reflecting back in how many times I used to loop certain things that happened in my life. Like, I mean, I can drop things quite quickly now, but holy heck, I used to harbor on and replay and reloop certain things of my life. Probably, I mean, and it felt like, I mean, it was a long time. I did not let go of grudges and situations. And I, you know, like, I'm just trying to think back now, like, what were the big ones? And oh my, it was like things that someone said just really flippantly, and it impacted me so much. And the way that I controlled it impacting me was because every time I would play it, it would be more like spiteful, or, you know, really personally attacking me, and I was blaming all of my insecurities on that one moment. And, you know, like, I could really take it to town with, you know, that. And I think, you know, you get so carried away with these looping of this frustration of this event that happened to you, you know, it kind of morphs into this bigger monster. And so then, but each time it loops and becomes bigger, there's that bridge between me and that person forever and ever and ever. And, you know, then, you know, you do get that opportunity to like confront them about it. And of course, they have no clue what you're even saying, because it was just a common statement that they said. And that's even more infuriating, because it's like, no, that wounded me forever and a day. You know, and we attach so much of our failures because of that situation. And, you know, we can, oh my gosh, I mean, it's cute that I used to think that I could like hold on to something for like since yesterday. No, this was like, I could have held on to it forever. And
you come back.
And because ultimately what you want when you start looping about these certain things, ultimately what you want is the most profound apology, where it's like they're almost proposing, but it's actually an apology where they are just, you know, it's matching everything you've attached to that event. And of course, when they haven't even realized that they have offended you so profoundly, you're never going to get that apology ever. And so that's part of, you know, letting crap go and, you know, feeling 1,000 times lighter for it. But there is that fine line between, you know, have we just made dramatics over an event and, you know, want to jump into victim mode? Or is it a situation where we truly have been a victim? And because, you know, are we shaming ourselves for when we're a victim, or are we creating victim and then kind of using it for some sort of fuel and leverage to like complain and be devastated for our friends so they can feel sorry for us? Like, what is our motivations of why we used to hold on to shit?
I mean, I think that a lot of the time it's, and I want, you know, I'm very cautious or very aware that I sometimes sound like I'm just such a detached being and I have no feelings or anything. It's not about that at all. It's about recognizing how we work on an energetic level, and understanding that while ever we are attaching ourselves to something that no longer exists, we're the ones that are suffering. And it's about us realizing how we can detach ourselves from that to have more balance in our life, you know. And I think that people that are living victim consciousness, there is a sense of it. We talked about this in another session, but there is a sense of empowerment in that, because if someone can say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll tread carefully around you, I won't say certain things, and you know, like I see all the time, it's like we have a rule book about, oh, if you want to know me, these are my rules, you have to know these rules before you can get to know me, and you're not allowed to say that, you're not allowed to talk about this, and you're not allowed to talk about that, because all these things will trigger me. And it's like, it's almost like, well, we're all human beings, we've all got stuff that's happened to us, and should we all walk around with a big placard saying, don't talk about my parents, don't talk about my, you know, and how far does that go before we're just not allowed to even have any honest conversation with each other? But I mean, what forgiveness, you know, if we look at it through the lens of forgiveness, I mean, the journey of forgiveness is not about saying it's okay what someone did, and it's certainly not about empowering anybody else either. It's about taking the power back of yours that's been depleted from you through the narrative of what happened. So it's about saying, I can't let this thing take from me anymore, I'm taking my power back. And because what you recognize when you've been hurt is, if someone does something to you, like let's say you're in a relationship and your partner betrays you, cheats on you, and you carry that, you start to feel how much power that incident has over you, because it's changing the way you live your life. It's making you a recluse, it's making you make poor diet choices, or whatever it is that the way it plays itself out in your life. You feel the power of that it's taking from you. So what you can actually learn when you reflect on that is how powerful a human being can be when they act towards another. And so you can say, right, okay, you've shown me how much power one can have over another, and I recognize now how powerful I have the potential to be. But the difference is, I want to use that power to do something compassionate for others, and to choose love, and to choose kindness, and all those beautiful things, instead of an act of abuse or victimization. So that's really what forgiveness is about. It's about understanding that you're just as powerful as they are, but you can choose to direct that power towards the greater good if you want to, or you can choose to keep financing yesterday and feeling shit. So when do you want to choose to change?
I'm listening to it and I'm like wanting to add humor into it. Like if my partner wanted to confess he'd had like an affair or something, you know, he would have choices then of how I would dispose of his body. You know, like that's the old Joe speaking. She just came out to play. But you know, it's like you wouldn't want to be able to, I mean, oh God, it's such a huge one, because you know, you would instantly want to react to everything. So that's a huge big one. I don't know if I am even able to like advise people, how would you approach that? First of all, their choices and their responsibilities of how they have conducted themselves. We're not able to forgive them, because what we need to do is like console our own feelings first if we are in that situation, and then you know we need to console ourselves, because I think we are victims, we want support from others, and that's kind of this trap that we get into, that others will help us with our emotions, others will nurture us and say that he's useless and that you can eat that chocolate because you're in this mourning and grief of the relationship or whatever. Like, we have to kind of master our own selves, even though it would be horrifically shocking. But you know, I think we just, even in those really challenging times where we probably do want to get support from our friends, you know, ultimately we're going to give our power away to our friends if we're going to get them to console us and support us. And I mean, because you know what, like, as much as I'm just thinking back in my past with my friends, when I was reacting in 3D, if that situation had happened, then my friends who are not therapists, who are not really, they would just react to it, and then it would just be this bigger, extra crazier thing, which took away my choices of how I was allowed to feel about it, because my friends have all condemned him, you know, even when I don't even know, because, you know, people can have relationship infidelities and still flourish and thrive, you know, when there is a healthy dialogue and conversation and a lot of maturity. But you know, like it can get so challenging when you trust guidance from your friends who are just thinking, oh, my friends just told me this, I have to then you know, overreact with, you know, really not actually that helpful information. And we need to be listening to ourselves at that point, not getting advice of what do we do from other people, because you know what, no one else lives your own life, only you. And so it's such a challenging one. This is why, you know, we can love our friends and trust that they'll try and give us the best advice that they are capable of giving us at whatever level that they're at. But for us personally, this is why we need to have a great, loving relationship of ourselves to be able to know what is best for us. We can actually have the conversation ourselves. What do we need here? How should we respond here? What do we want here? And be able to really see, you know, given that there will be some reactionary emotion time, it's a tricky one, and I'm not prepared to process how I would advise someone, but I would recommend loving the crap out of yourself and empowering yourself, and knowing that knowing that these 3D emotions are very challenging and confusing and heartbreaking. And just because you can work through the consoling yourself and forgiving, so, you know, even if the relationship ends, you have to forgive them. Otherwise, you're going to be eaten alive by not forgiving them. And then having to find that inner peace where you're okay with it, and not having that next relationship where you're like paranoid that it's going to repeat itself. And what we were talking about earlier, because I feel like we're kind of getting off topic, because I'm certainly not a relationship therapist, I'm just a people lover, and I just want everyone to love the crap out of themselves and empower themselves, whatever that looks like. So anyway, we were talking about how everyone is going to experience somewhat what they can cope with in terms of the shift. And we were talking about different religions expecting to experience different phenomenons. You know, Jesus is coming back, for example. You know, he will, I'm sure I've done a session where they have said for those who are waiting to see him return, will see him return. So have they manifested that as a collective because that's what they need to be able to believe and understand what has happened?
I mean, I think there's probably multiple layers to that one, to be honest. And I think it's whatever gets people through, isn't it? And you know, so for some people that will be really encouraging, and it will actually help them cope with anything that is coming in the world. I mean, we don't really know for certain exactly how everything's going to pan out, but if some people really find comfort in that, and it helps them go wherever they're going, then who's to say that there's anything wrong with that, you know? And there are some people that are really invested in that idea that there is going to be a second coming, and again, who am I to say, or who's anybody to say that that's wrong? And also, how do I know? So I guess a lot of the, I suppose what we're really being guided to do at this time, and my perception of what's been going on in the world recently is a time for self-reflection. You know, where do I sit with everything versus how am I being influenced by everything? You know, because we can easily lose ourselves in the narratives of others and any collective ideas, and anything like that, any ideology, whether it's religion or politics or any kind of you know, this way or that way thinking, it can be very charming, but at the same time, where are we in that? And I think it's a constant reminder just to reflect on how we really feel about everything.
Well, that's a huge where am I, who am I kind of discovery, isn't it? Because ever since we have been born, we've been collecting other people's ideas and impressions and ideologies. And most of us at some point have been completely clueless to what do we actually believe ourselves. We know what we've been told by others, the teachers, the leaders, the elders, the people that should know better, and we have just fumbled and stumbled away through life, kind of being guided by those opinions and perspectives. And that moment of really, I think it kind of comes with a big breakdown or a big change, or a physical change of moving, or like a new career or a new school, where you kind of feel like you can recreate yourself, and sort of what no longer serves you with the peer pressure and the trends, and versus what actually do you think and feel. And we know all the influencers who say, think and trust me and go with my plan and blah, 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 blah. I've done all the research, just sit back and enjoy my journey as I tell you that you're already on the new earth and, whatever. And like, if I know that so many people appreciate that, because it just feels too overwhelming to know where to even start. Like a lot of people think that when you start learning about spirituality, you need to know all of the names of all of the planets and all of the civilizations that live on other planets, and all the chakra systems and everything metaphysical before they can even start having their own opinion to it. And the reality is, no. All you need to know is how you feel, and most important, if you can love yourself and accept yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the spiritual path, to me, it's a journey of self-reflection, courage, and faith. It's not and truth, honesty, and that's really about your relationship with you. And I think that we have this this I guess energy in society of not good enough. I'm not good enough, and that's defined by the structures that dictate what it is to succeed in this world. I mean, when you're educated, you've got to fit into a certain box of, you're good at this skill, you've got this skill, you've got that skill, and if you don't fit into any of those boxes, then your society is almost telling you that you're not good enough. And I think that perhaps the education system, if it was more directed towards helping people recognize their own charism, their own unique gifts, then perhaps we wouldn't have that feeling. But even in this, having this faith in some kind of second coming of Christ, I mean, that's great. But from my perspective, his message was, you think I'm great? Well, you see what you can do. Like, why do you need me? Because you can do what I can do and more. So again, it still comes back to, no matter who turns up, whether it's Christ or whatever, what are you doing? And how are you contributing with your own center, with your own gifts? Like, because if you're waiting for someone to come back, you're still handing over your power to an external resource, which means you aren't focusing on what you can offer. And I think that's what we're missing.
Yes, I agree with you. And it seems like for some percentage and degree, humanity is really super busy and preoccupied disempowering themselves. Or distract themselves with different things. So, this is why they need leaders to tell them how to think and feel, because they're too busy undermining their value and self-worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So self-reflection always is key. And I think it's hard to self-reflect, because certainly at the beginning of that journey, a lot of what you come up against is all the judgments and the beliefs and attitudes that are causing you suffering or pain or whatever. And it's hard to think that you've got to be the one to change that, because it's very easy to say, oh, society is the problem. Excuse me, I've got a car outside. Society is the problem, or someone's hurt me and that's why I am the way that I am. And we're handing ourselves over to the external constantly to live our life. And where has it got us? We're not able to cultivate our own sense of stability. And that's why, no matter what goes on the planet right now, if all the governments were taken down, like I said in that other video, a lot of people wouldn't survive, because people need governance, because they don't have the ability to really cultivate that self preservation anyway. But this is the journey. How can we get there? How can, are schools really teaching us the best thing, or shouldn't they be teaching us how to grow food and build things so that we can survive without, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And like as part of the first journey that we have with ourselves in our relationship with ourselves, is being able to trust ourselves more than, say, the external, because so many people, when we discover in sessions, like, why can't they love themselves profoundly? Well, they doubt themselves. Isn't trust part of doubt? And if you have a lack of trust, then it's because you're doubting yourself. And you've been with you the entire time. You know everything that you've overcome and experienced and allowed to happen in your life, and continually let happen in your life. And is it embarrassing when you've realized that you are sort of part of the problem to some degree in your life experiences because of your perceptions? It is definitely embarrassing, but it's rewarding when you know that you can recognize it. Because as soon as we can trust ourselves, as soon as we can recognize what's been going on for us and what is in our control and what isn't in our control, then we can forgive ourselves for all of our, oh, that was when I was so 3D, and make a joke out of it and accept that, those were all perfect, great lessons. So then when you see other people in the same position and same level of experiencing that, you can definitely recognize that, give them compassion and grace and support, knowing that, they just don't know better yet, that they can empower themselves profoundly with choices.
Yeah, it's our we're focusing so much on our individual identity right now, but I see the value in focusing on our sameness. We're all at our core the same. The light behind everything that you look at comes from the same place, and so, that if that self-reflection journey leads you to recognize something about yourself that you perhaps want to change or doesn't feel very good, you can rest assured that there are billions of other people who've had the same issue. It might not have played out in the exact same way that it has with you, but it's still there. We all experience what it's like to be victimized, whether we victimize ourselves or we victimize another, or someone victimizes us. We're all going to experience that victimization in some form, and that's what connects us. So that it's not, oh, this has happened to me, therefore everyone has to tread carefully around me. It's like, oh, this has happened to me, therefore I'm the same as everybody else, therefore I can support this game of life, and I can offer my unique charism to it, versus now it needs to support me because I've been so hard done to.
And isn't that, yes, we are all part of Source, fantastic. So we are all brothers and sisters, if we want to label that. And the other thing that we have is the same range of emotions. We are all capable of feeling those emotions. And so therefore, it doesn't matter what language or what situations we've experienced, we innately know each other's reactions and approaches. We've all been there, done that, and can all support each other. We may be still needing to go through certain things, and others may have already mastered that, and that is okay, because it's not the race, and it's not the destination. It is about exploring the journey and still trying to be open and supportive and helping others, and not have any expectations on ourselves and not have any expectations on others, as we are still trying to expand our perception and our consciousness to have full compassion, while just mastering and overcoming that tempting lower range of emotions that sometimes looks like it could be fun, but it really will get quite lackluster when you enjoy the higher frequencies of higher emotions and that inner peace that does come with lots of inner work and growth and progress.
Yeah, because you know, we're hardwired to sense each other's vulnerabilities, and I think when we do sense another person's vulnerability, sometimes we don't want to recognize it because it awakens our own sense of our own vulnerability through our connectedness to that being, and we don't want to feel vulnerable. So we kind of block it out. You know, it's why a lot of people would turn away when they see a homeless person, for example, because it awakens in us that we are also vulnerable beings, and but that truth is what connects us all. It shouldn't be what keeps us all away from each other, you know, but it's just hard for people to sense their own vulnerability and allow that to be. A lot of people just want to push that away.
We can see when people still haven't done their inner work because they're still reacting and hurting others and themselves. And
Yeah.
it is sometimes, we don't, while placing boundaries, we can still love them, but we also like not distance ourselves, but also distance ourselves while they're still in that very reactionary, painful behavior process. And we can observe that, but don't buy into it. It's very important to not react to their own inner hurt, which they are projecting out. I wanted to talk about time because I know in sessions, they're saying it's soon, it's very, very soon. And, that really sort of triggers people thinking, God, am I going to, get the washing in before it's too late?
Watching the cloud.
Yeah, okay, so let's just be honest here. Never have considered my washing and if where the heck that status is going to be for the shift. Yeah, it's the only thing I sort of think of is, I really, if I shift now, I think I'd be really disappointed that I didn't get that meal I was planning to cook in 3 days' time. That would be probably, I'm a bit more focused on food than my housework, but that's okay.
Well, what about flipping it the other way? I'm thinking if I get to the new earth and I have to do laundry, I'm going to be pretty pissed off.
Well, according to some, new earth is hell. So absolutely, I know I'm going to be doing laundry for the rest of eternity. No, seriously, on a serious note, so we keep hearing them saying it's soon, it's soon, it's soon, and I know that they're motivating us to really focus on just what really matters. Does it really matter the small things that have looped us in the past with judgment and disdain and kind of not really working on their inner work? The faster we think the shift is going to be, the faster we will want to do our inner work and get our homework done. For some, others don't seem to be that motivated, and they're like, I'm just a special unicorn. I'm going to shift and go where I think I'm going to deserve to go because I'm really my higher self. So I am just here for humanity's, appreciation, and everyone is coming from a different perspective. So what I wanted to sort of say is, I always kind of get a different sense of timing for when the shift's going to happen. And we know that there is volcanoes happening. We know this earthquake is happening. And I just still honestly feel that, we still have some comfortable time to really enjoy this 3D life and to really make it work for us and to really find our inner peace. Not because we're in a rush to quickly get everything done so we can get to our destination that we hope we're getting to, but because we want to truly enjoy what we have here. We want to enjoy our connections with our friends and family that we may have judged in the past. There's a lot of things we can still do to enjoy this life here. And I'm not trying to, give dates or anything, but I do know that regardless of when the shift happens, we must be taking our inner work seriously for us and for humanity and for our own collectives. They want us to take this work really seriously. And we all know that being in a dense choice of emotions doesn't serve us, doesn't do anything for us, actually makes us sick and miserable, and our friends try to avoid us but send us unconditional love in a really in a really strong boundary way. And so don't focus on the date and don't focus on the shift. It is going to unfold as it has to. And it is about making the most of what we have here. And if you're finding yourself saying, ugh, I don't care, I can't possibly enjoy this life here, there's crimes against humanity, blah, 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 my family are sleeping, this is miserable, I just want the shift to be tomorrow, then you've got some big inner work that you've just expressed to yourself. So, you know, the shift is coming. Do we want to make our farmers proud? Do we want to make our families proud? Do we want to make us proud? Do we want to just seriously seize the day? Nothing is going to, nothing, people may judge us if suddenly we want to be positive and pretend as if we have arrived on the new earth and we can update our status that it's a new world and we are so fantastic and we're super high vibrational and we love everything. I mean, you know, if someone says to you, go fuck yourself, that's not how it's going to happen, then just, you know, change that perspective. And what they're really trying to tell you, instead of go fuck yourself, they're really trying to say, have a relationship with yourself and twist it around and make it a compliment rather than a, you know, an insult, because you don't accept insults anymore. You know, you can see it from a different perspective and make it win for you. Because when we accept insults, we are accepting to be judged. We don't accept being judged. We don't judge ourselves, we don't judge others, and we don't accept judgment. And so, you know, really try to see if this will work for you to be able to profoundly empower yourself, knowing you have responsibilities that you can't ignore. It is a responsibility, it is a duty, and you can't fail at this when you are trying. And I think this is a really empowering message that I say with much love. We have to keep trying, and we have to keep seeing good in others. We have to keep seeing good in ourselves. We have to trust that we are of service and really have that attitude. And I'm sure we will instantly and very quickly manifest our way into a better relationship with ourselves and others.
I think just staying reflective is really just a thing to be doing around this time. You know, just to keep reflective on how things pan out and your involvement in those things, and how the way that you view stuff, your beliefs, how they make you feel, and is it empowering you or disempowering you? And if it's disempowering you, can you change the perception? You know, I mean, that everything that's happening, the universe is just a constant, and it's a constant growth and eternal evolution of truth. You know, life is just a sphere of truth. So how is it unfolding? How am I playing a part? And what is there to learn? There's always something to learn. And you're not in a rush. There's nowhere to get to here. You know, it's yes, it sometimes seems with some of these transmissions or people's channelings or whatever that we've got no time left, but there is no such thing as time as well. So at the same, in that, all that is happening is this moment, and it's very easy to get attached to the future. And I'm speaking from experience, because I was just speaking before about forgiveness and letting go of the past. But for me, the balance that I have to learn is, yeah, that's all well and good, but you do spend a lot of time thinking about the future too and where it's all going, and that's just as much of a trap. Because right now all we have is this moment, and do we want to be financing our life with worries about the future or anxieties about the past, or just living as presently as we can and being as reflective and open as we possibly can be to anything that might come our way? You know, we don't need to prove everyone wrong. We don't need to make everyone see things the way that we see it. That we can just reflect on life and contribute as compassionately and kindly as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will get to reflect back on our choices that we make in this time before the shift. We will. And, you know, don't be in a rush to get to the shift, because that's almost not a waste of opportunities to have new memories and special connections with people that you may not be able to get back. we all assume that we're going to go with our friends and family and we're all going to meet on the new earth, and contracts are changing often. And, this is what I keep hearing in private sessions, is that, contracts are changing, and we're not, we've kind of already overstayed our welcome. Even with our collectives, they're sort of, already over the slow pace and our choices to keep disempowering ourselves and not be of service. So, there's so much more than just us here at stake, and there's so much more important things that we have to honor. And there's so much we could get fully distracted with as well. So it has to be a balance, a mindful balance. But it is so easy to get distracted in other things. That is for sure. And we always will catch ourselves having low vibrational sort of approaches. And, we can forgive ourselves because it's still in 3D. So, we know that that's not what we really want to be doing for the majority of our choices and our free will and our approach, because, even we get sick of ourselves being negative Nancy's.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of, it's almost like we need to try and live in two planes of consciousness at once, because, polarity is the engine of creation, and we need to experience that in order to have an experience. But at the same time, we can sit behind the polarity of thinking and recognize that we are all one, and that everything that's happening is required. So it's a dance that you play. It's like I gotta participate in the human game, but I don't have to attach to the human game at the same time.
Yeah, it is incredibly fun and challenging and rewarding. There's so much to the game of life that we can, enjoy when we've got that awakening moment where you just realize why it's all here. And I don't know. I find that we could talk about this for hours, and I always enjoy our conversations of just merging our little weekly experiences that we've noticed and pondered upon. I don't want people to panic thinking that it's super soon. I do believe that they say it is soon. What that qualifies as, they're high dimensional beings that don't count time, and they've been watching this planet for how many billions of years. And so potentially soon could be, more than just as instant as we assume. But, I want everyone to have balance. I want everyone to enjoy the moments that they're having, and to make choices of whether the things that they're doing and the behaviors that they're having really serves them and humanity. And
And I know, and I speak for myself as well, that a lot of people are getting a lot of great inspiration from this channel. And so again, thank you for setting it up, because I know that it's helping people navigate this time, and just put things into different perspectives. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who've listened to some of these transmissions and thought, shit, I've just got to let go of some of this stuff that I'm holding, because there's so much more going on, and it's so much bigger than I thought it was. And we've got so much. We have always got time and space to cultivate beautiful memories and acts of kindness, and so like, as much as it's easy for us to sit here and say, just do your work and be happy, I know it's not as easy as that. And I really want to make sure that I never want to come across thinking that I think I've got it down pat, because I definitely don't. I get caught in this all the time, and it's only through getting caught in it that I can reflect on it and talk about it. So I get it, and it's very easy sometimes to get lost in the story and miss what's actually happening right in front of you. So yeah, let's just champion that and see if we can cultivate more presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last thing I want people to think is doing the inner work is super easy, and it's just a switch. I mean, it can be that, but it also, you don't really explore it as much as it kind of needs to be. And while we go, there's all these steps to it. If you don't console yourself with the emotions, regardless of whether you're a victim or not, and you've created that victim, you still need to console yourself with that. You know, you've needed that support, you've needed that attention, whatever, consoling yourself is a really important stage. And we sometimes think rush to the forgiveness and then just be neutral is the answer. There is actually some other steps to it. And, you know, we can't individually tell everyone how to approach things. We've learned so much from these sessions in terms of, remember that beautiful lesson that we all learned about the dusting husband. You know, like, we can't assume why people are reacting like this. We can't take it on as personal. We can stay in neutral and try to hear them and support them through it while trying to maintain balance and boundaries and not be, you know, pushed around by others. You know, like, it's such a hard one. I want to just hug everyone. I want to empower everyone. I want everyone to know it is actually going to be okay. It really is. You know, things have got so crazy here for a really good purpose, for really good reason. So when you look at the bigger perspective of what's going to come out from this really challenging experience on Earth, no one is going to be, you know, everyone's going to accept it and be okay with it and be at peace with it. They really are. And so, you know, I want to send everyone love, so much love. I want to say very cheekily, everyone go fuck themselves, you know, because a relationship with you is special. And, you know, I had a great session recently where, you know, the woman, when I asked the subconscious, what should she do between now and the shift? And they said sex. She needs to have lots more sex. And I was like, oh, okay, how come my subconscious hasn't said that? You know, but it's really funny that, you know, we are going to miss and join our physical experiences and, you know, all of them. So, you know, I want you to find humor, and I want you to be able to find joy in this life while we still have it. And thank you, David, once again for being my conscious mind conversation partner, if we will. And yeah, I really enjoy listening to you and reflecting on this. Thank you.
Yep, thank you too. And yeah, it's just a constant, it's like working out a muscle, you know. You just keep doing it, and eventually you get to a place where it becomes a lot easier. So it's like you just start off and everything's hunky-dory. It takes time to build the muscle of inquiry and all that. So yeah, and I think, and you know, like I said, I think a lot of people benefit from this putting things in different perspectives and just looking at things from different lens. And so it's an honor to be able to chat and share, and I hope that everyone gets something out of it. So thank you.
Great. I will not. I accidentally ended you last time, so I really didn't want to cut short. I'm so sorry about that. I felt dreadful. Okay. So, I'm glad you got to say your final piece at this time without the abruption of a hard end. So thank you, my friend. Have a great holiday.
Thank you very much.